We are now looking at the user's guide for the Blackline masters of the Thinking Tools templates. And I'm assuming that by now you have seen the user's guide for the projectable Thinking Tools templates. These 34 templates come from my book, Reflections on Classroom Thinking Strategies. And they help me as a teacher and as an instructor in the corporate world to direct the thinking and the learning of learners. If you're interested as a school license, go to my website or have a look at the final slide. Now, why have I done this? For many years, I've been saying the best learning takes place when the teacher or the instructor is quiet, but it depends on three things. Number one, you need a clear question or an activity that contains a very explicit task verb, the action verb. It then needs an appropriate thinking tool. So if the task verb is decide, the appropriate thinking strategy could be a decision-making matrix. And then finally, the teacher or the instructor needs to say, you've got 2 minutes here, or 20 minutes, or 30 minutes. And that's when the best learning takes place, and the teacher can hold back. Now, all good learning depends on a very clear task verb or action verb. And I use Bloom's taxonomy of the cognitive domain. So at top left, we know that Bloom's talks about remembering, and look at some of those verbs, you'll recognize those. And then we ask students sometimes to show that they understand. Again, those are the task verbs there. And then to show us, demonstrate, how would you apply what I've taught you to your daily life or another idea. In terms of higher order thinking, we then get on to analyze and have a look at some of those verbs that you'd recognize you use on a regular basis. Along with that, which is called critical thinking, to analyze and evaluate, you get the evaluate tools to make a decision, decide, and so on. And finally, human endeavor is always about making things even better. And so you got the design, the more creative side. How could you modify and so on? Now, asking a good question is no guarantee you'll get a good answer. However, if you link a thinking tool, a template, a graphic organizer to the verb. So, for example, if you're asking them to decide, it could be a decision-making matrix. Or in this case, if you ask them to discuss, you have what's called a SWOT analysis. And that's what this is about. And all of it comes from the Thinking Skills Framework in my book. And the important part is that on the left, we have the verbs, such as discuss, and on the right, you might have a tool such as a SWOT analysis. This resource has a simple contents list, and these are hyperlinked, so you click on one, it'll take you straight to it. For example, if you want proof that people or your learners remember certain things, instead of just giving them a blank piece of paper and a pen, you might give them this. The alpha ladder, I've got 3 formats. Here's with 2 columns. A is for apple, B is for banana, C is for carrot, and so on. This is a simple memory aid to prod the memory of your learners. They don't have to fill in every single letter of the alphabet, but it helps. If you want to get to the understand level and you ask them to explain a phenomenon such as drought, on the left, you would have the causes. And again, this helps your learners to think what are some 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16 causes. Once they've looked at the causes and explained those causes, that gives you an idea as the teacher, the instructor, that there's some understanding here. But you take it further, you say, well, what are the sub-effects or the effects of each of these? And when they fill in those 4 boxes, and there could be 2 or 3 or 4 dot points per box, surely this will help you assess to what extent do your students, your learners, understand something. At the next level of apply, something like a flow chart. Sure, this is like memory, but it is. How do you do it? What are the steps 1, 2, 3, 4? How do you take everything you know and understand for a new situation and create your own process or flow chart? If you can do that, that shows that you know how to use that information. Getting to analyze, if I ask you to discuss your life as a trainer or a teacher, one great tool is a SWOT analysis. What are the strengths? What are your strengths as an instructor or teacher? What are your weaknesses? this wonderful profession of yours, what opportunities does it offer you? And if you're going to be a bit prescient or look down to the future a little bit, what are some threats? When you complete this, you got a far better analysis, and from that you can take action 1 or action 2. In terms of higher order thinking, a very useful strategy is the pros cons question extension with the extent barometer. The pros, what's good about something; the cons, what's not; questions, what if, I wonder, could, should, it would be interesting to know. When you apply this to a question or a discussion, and you break this down into various criteria or perspectives, that is the extension, and you fill out all that information, that's a great analysis. Now you're in a position to evaluate the scales of justice. And that little extent barometer, or how much barometer, from 0 at the bottom to 100 at the top, you can fill it in for each of these paragraphs, because they are paragraphs. Each perspective is a paragraph. It's a scaffold. You have helped your learners to really look into some question deeply, and then to make some sort of decision. And from that, you can make a concluding paragraph. A simple tool to make a decision is the decision-making matrix or table. This one shows an option of 3. It could be 3 houses, 3 cars, 3 constitutions, 3 medicines, 3 whatever. And along the top where it says criteria, you think about the criteria. And again, if you go to the Thinking Tools templates, the projectable ones, you will see many, many examples of each of these. But this is simply what you need to print for your learners so that they can get on with the job. And once you've got the criteria for A, B, and C, let's call those houses, you fill in all the data, and at the bottom score from 1 to 5, you vertically, column by column, compare each of those. And you give them a score of 1 to 5. In the end, total, you'd have your result. And then finally, the split Y chart, if you ask people to be creative. So split Y chart is about the looks like, sounds like, feels like. And though I've got positive and negative, that could work. It could be A and B, A and B. So for example, if you're asking, how could your learning environment improve? The plus could be from the teacher's point of view. The negative, not that it's a negative, could be from the learner's point of view. So what does it look like from the teacher's point of view and the instructor's point of view? And then what does it look like from the learner's point of view? What does it sound like? Again, from the teacher or the instructor and then the learner. And this feels like the emotional, the tactile again. There we got it, from the teacher's or instructor's point of view or the learner's point of view. Once this has been brainstormed, because all of these are brainstorms, you're now in a position to write something. To start ending off, what you see here is the thumbnail sketches of all the templates from the Thinking Tool templates, the projectable resource. This is only the master, Blackline master copy. Again, we have 34 strategies here, or tools. All of these come from my book, Reflections on Classroom Thinking Strategies. Many of you have the one on the left. 35,000 copies of that has been sold. And more recently, I made the 11th edition with a new cover with my wonderful granddaughter on the front cover there. Reflections on Thinking School Strategies. To end off, there are 2 discount offers here. On the left is for my book, where you can bulk buy if you like. But on the right hand is these 3 resources. You can buy them independently or separately, or if you wish to buy all 3, you pay $360 and you save, I think, $127. Thank you very much for listening. I hope this makes your classroom even better.